Hey guys, welcome to lesson 3.1, where we start talking about data collection. So two main kinds of statistics. So far, we've been talking about descriptive statistics, which are just statistics that you use to summarize a data set. So for example, if I have a class roster, I can talk about the average of my class on a certain exam. The other type of statistics are inferential statistics, where you use a sample to draw conclusions about a broader group. So making inferences where, for example, I have a random sample of people and I find the median of that sample, and then I use it to kind of generalize about the broader median income of every household in a certain district. So inferential statistics start with a sample and you make inferences about a population. So key terms, population is an entire group of people or an entire group of units. So population could be, for example, a population of trees. Doesn't necessarily have to be people. Sample is a subset of a population. Sample size, denoted by n, is the number of units in our sample. You'll see that a lot. Census is a complete count of a population. Sample survey bias is how my results from my sample are consistently different from a population. So for example, I have a population of 20,000 students at a college, and I survey 250 of those. That would be a random sample. Well, that would be a sample. We'll talk about like ways of collecting a random sample later. Fundamental rule for using data for inference. Available data used to make inferences can only be considered representative with regard to the question of interest. So available data can be used to make inferences about a much larger group only if the data is considered representative. So for example, if I visit a like farmer's market in Blacksburg and I talk to people there about their political preferences, it's unlikely to be representative of the United States population as a whole. This is a test every study must pass. If a sample doesn't represent the population, then it doesn't matter how big the sample is, it's just still an unrepresentative sample. For example, ages of death of US first ladies can't tell us how long American women will live. Most of the first ladies lived before modern medicine and held an unusual position. So, for a variety of reasons, if I look at the sample of first ladies, it's not a good representative sample of all women in the United States. Why a sample can beat a census. So there's three reasons why a census might be impractical to conduct. So sometimes the census is impossible. If measuring destroys the unit, you can't measure them all. A firecracker maker that tested every firecracker would have none left to sell. Speed, a sample can be collected and analyzed much quicker than counting every unit in the population. And accuracy, fewer people to measure means you can measure each one more carefully. Example, resources can go into high quality answers from a well-chosen sample. Three ways surveys can go wrong. You can have selection bias, as in who gets picked and who gets left out. For example, calling only landlines. I mean, hardly anybody has landlines anymore, but that used to be a traditional issue where calling landlines missed a lot of adults who only have cell phones. Non-response bias. Some people who don't respond probably have different opinions than those that do. Mostly customers who complain send the survey back, and then the survey is unrepresentative of the population. Response bias. So people who respond inaccurately or untruthfully. For example, if people are being asked point blank how much junk food they eat, they might not tell the truth, or they might misremember. So either way, it would be an inaccurate count. So two things to keep straight: non-response bias. There's missing answers, response bias, wrong and correct answers. So response bias, you get an answer, but it's often either untruthful or inaccurate. Identify the population and sample. A quality inspector tests 50 light bulbs from a production run of 4,000. So here the population is 4,000 light bulbs, all the light bulbs, and the sample is the 50 ones that are tested, n equals 50. A poll asks 1,200 registered voters about a state ballot measure. Population are all registered voters, and the sample is the 1,200 ones that are taken. A nurse draws 1 vial of blood to check your iron level. The population is all your blood, and the sample is the vial. A census here would be a very bad idea, drawing all your blood. Quick check, which bias is it? A shopping habits survey is conducted only inside a suburban mall. That would be a selection bias. A company mails 2,000 surveys, only 300 come back, mostly from unhappy customers. It could flip the other way too, right? So like you can have a company or like the people that might post reviews are only people that were very happy with the service. So once again, it's kind of unrepresentative of the population. Students report their weekly study hours in an interview with their professor. They could not be telling the truth. So response bias. Telephone poll samples from a directory of landlines, selection bias. Cell phone households never had a chance of selection. We'll talk more about the types of biases in another unit of this chapter. Quick check, does it pass the fundamental rule? A random sample of 300 students from one university used to describe that university's students. As long as the sample is random, and that's pretty important, we'll talk about that in the next lesson, that's fine. Your statistics class average commute time used to describe all US college students. Not a good idea. It's not a random sample. And for a variety of reasons, it's not going to be representative of all US college students. It's also not taken from the population of all college students. Ages of death of US First Ladies used to describe women's lifespan. Again, it's not a sample that's taken from the whole population, so it's not going to be a representative sample. Summary. Inference uses a sample to learn about a population. So sample describes a population. Only if the sample is representative of the population. Population is the group you want to know about. Sample is who you actually measure. And a census measures everyone. Samples beat censuses when testing destroys units, when speed matters, and when resources are limited. So census often is going to be too expensive and impractical to conduct. And we'll talk more about biases, more specifically in another lesson. So that is lesson 1.3, an introduction to sampling and surveys.